Hi, my name is Lindsay Tucker, and I'm a student here at JTech, and today we're going to be going over the automotive systems. Okay, so one of the most important parts of a vehicle is the engine. The main support structure for all engine parts. The upper section contains the cylinder heads and the pistons. The lower end forms the crankcase, and that supports the main bearings, the camshaft, the crankshaft. Over here is the air intake and the air filter in this right here, and that goes down into the throttle body, which comes up into the air intake manifold. Alright, so now that we're looking at an engine that is not in a vehicle, I can go ahead and go over some of the parts to it. Right here is going to be the alternator. And then down here is going to be your crankcase, which has your crankshaft and holds your harmonic balancer as well. Now when the engine starts, it has an intake stroke, which is where the intake valve is open, the exhaust valve is closed, and the piston is going down. Air and fuel is drawn into the cylinder. And then next is the compression stroke, where the intake valve is closed, the exhaust valve is closed, the piston is going up, and it compresses and heats the air-fuel mixture just before the top of the compression stroke. The ignition system fires the spark plugs to ignite the air-fuel mixture. Next would be your power stroke, which is where the intake valve is closed, the exhaust valve is closed, and fuel is burning, and the expanding gas pushes the piston down the bore and transmits the power via the connecting rod to turn the crankshaft. And last is the exhaust stroke, which is where the intake valve is closed, the exhaust valve is open, and the piston is going up and pushing the burnt gas out of the combustion chamber and into the exhaust system. Alright, so now I'm going to talk a little bit about transmissions, like the difference between an automatic and a manual. The transmission is what changes the gears in the engine. So if you have an automatic one, it automatically changes the gears without having to do anything. If you have a manual transmission, then the driver's got to step on a clutch pedal, which then releases and disconnects the engine from the transmission, which allows the starter motor to crank. The driver can then switch it into whatever gear they want to, whether it be reverse, first, if they're going down the road, into second, third, fourth, and so on. So now when it comes to your tires and your suspension, you're going to want to make sure that all of your lug nuts are secure and torqued to where they're supposed to be, so that your tire doesn't fall off while you're driving down the road. And then we're going to move over here to where the shocks and struts are, and those make it so that when you go over a bump, you don't feel it as much when you're driving. Right there is going to be your tire rod, and here is going to be the rack and pinion, which connects your tires together and makes them turn at the same time when you turn the steering wheel. Alright, so now I'm going to go over the braking system in the vehicle. Right here is going to be your caliper. Your brake pads are in here. And this right here is your brake rotor. When you press on the brake pedal in the vehicle, it's going to force brake fluid into your brake lines through the vehicle's master cylinder. Then your brake pads are going to squeeze the rotor, and your vehicle is eventually going to stop. So when it comes to the electrical part of the vehicle, there's all kinds of switches and fuses, resistors, capacitors, and relays. The battery is also a big part of the electrical part of a vehicle. The battery provides the energy that's needed to convert the chemical energy to electric energy. So the electrical energy is then sent to the starter during the cranking of the vehicle, which the starter is located right there in this vehicle. The starter then changes the electrical energy to mechanical energy and it turns over. Also, some vehicles have fuse boxes inside too, underneath the driver's side dashboard and underneath the passenger sometimes too. You just need to check your manual to find out where all your fuse boxes are. So now I'm going to go over the air conditioning system, which sits right here underneath the alternator in this vehicle. In the air conditioning system, it uses a refrigerant which has 4 major components. The compressor, which changes low pressure gas into high pressure gas, then the condenser, which forces the gas to become a liquid, the restrictor, which lowers the pressure, and the evaporator, which transforms low pressure liquid into low pressure gas. Alright, so here is another important piece to the engine, which would be the radiator. The radiator helps keep the engine cool while it's running with antifreeze and the thermostat. That all runs through the engine and then back through the radiator to cool the radiator fluid down and then back through the engine and so on.